Hello, this is your 10.5 tutorial. To begin, we'll start with the A. Start a new drawing. Make sure to load your McFatter template files. Your save location may vary from mine. Mine are stored in my documents. McFatter templates. And this one we're going to use today is going to be a McFatter ACAD ISO file. For ease of video, I'm going to turn off the grid. And this next step you do not have to do. I'm going to insert an attachment of the problem we're working on today, so we can see it and work on it together. So this is the 10.5 drawing that we're going to be working with today. Let's go ahead and start off with the front view. The length and height, 112 by 55. Start a line command. Make sure ortho is on. One, one, two. Enter. And then up 55. Enter. And I'm just going to project across and project across this way. And I'm going to use trim. Selecting both as my cutting planes to select and cut. Enter. Each end off. So this is my front limits. From here, I have an up of 12. So I'm going to copy my baseline. Up 12. I have a height given from here, up 32. So I will copy 32. Notice that I copy from the base, the bottom, because that's where the dimension is given from. Now, from this intersection here and this intersection here, I'm going to add two 45 degrees angles onto here. So let's start a line command right at the end point of the line. I move my mouse over to the right, and if I move up, you'll notice that I get a 90 degrees. I'm going to make sure my line is going past the object a little bit higher. Then I'm going to hit the tab key. That'll allow me to change the angle to 45, and then I hit enter, and there's my line. So from here, I'm going to use the trim command to cut away at this line here, and then I'm going to repeat trim, select this line to cut away at my extents, and there's my diagonal line. From here, I'm going to mirror. Excuse me. Using the mirror command, I've already selected my object. I'm going to go to the midpoint at the bottom and then draw a line going up. What it does is it makes a mirror copy of the left side and puts it onto the right side. as long as I'm going up. If I go to the right or to the left, it'll go below it. I could also go down, straight down, and it'll also put it to my right. I recommend just going up. It's easy to distinguish where the mirror line is and see what we're drawing. So I'm going to now select my left click, and then it asks me, do you want to delete source object? I'm going to say no. No is already in parentheses, so all I have to do is hit Enter key. If yours says yes, make sure to hit N for no. From here, I could use the trim command, selecting that diagonal line and cutting off the end. Then I could take this line here out and no longer need it. Now in the middle, I have a rib. It's a 0.12 thickness. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint on the top to the midpoint on the second line to the bottom. I'm then going to use a trick where I draw a line off the top at 12. I'm going to use the offset command. At this point, it's asking me for a distance. I'm going to use the midpoint of that line, and then I can move either to the left or to the right. Doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to pick the right-hand side and select the endpoint. What that does is it does the math for me. Instead of going ahead and saying, what's half of 12, being 6, I can select the midpoint of this line and then snap to the end of it. Now, when I select that line that I drew here in the middle, I can select it and move to the right, and then I can select it and move to the left. And then I can offset that. I click Enter. So as you can see, this is a linear dimension. From here to here is 6, and my overall is 12. It's just a little handy trick if you ever come to a number you just don't feel like doing the math for. Delete those dimensions and that center line in the middle. You draw it off to the side, you can always use it as a tool and then erase it after. All right, so the majority of this is in place. I know there's going to be 2 holes going through this piece here and here. So I'm going to save that for the top view, and then I'll project it down, saving myself from doing a lot of work. So from here, let's go ahead and project our information up. Everything I've drawn here has been on object layer. I'm going to change this to layer 0 for my projection. I can also use the construction layer. I find it'll be a little bit harder to see in a video, so I'm just going to use the layer 0. And I'm going to project my line work going up. And I'm going to select this line. I'm going to use copy. And every point of interest, I'm going to place one of those lines. Then I'll switch back over to my layer 0, or object layer, and draw my front end of my top view. Use trim command to cut away any excess. And now the top view is 60 thick. So I'm going to use this line here to copy up 60. Then on the top view, I'm going to see this edge here coming forward 1 at 12. So that back end, I'm going to select it, use the copy command again, and push it down 12. I also have a measurement here at 24. That's to find the centers of the circles. So I'm going to put that in now as well. Use the copy command, select that line, and copy it up at 24. Right-click, enter. And so I remember that that's a center line. I'm going to change that line type to center. So from here, I'm going to identify the lines and trim them as necessary. I know that the top, the bottom, and top are going to be my cutting planes for the edges here, here, and here. I click enter. Then for this rib, it's going to go up to this edge here. So I'm going to use trim, selecting this in this line here to cut away at any access lines I don't need. And then here, these two lines are going to be the top for those diagonals, showing the change. So I'm going to select those two as my cutting plane, and then remove the excess projected lines. I'm going to use a crossing window that's blue, going from left to right, and selecting half of the lines. Then I'm going to use the blue from here to here, and select the other half of the lines. And I'm going to change those to object. So now I have those lines as our object lines. Next that I need is where the holes go. Okay. This dimension here is in the center of the piece. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to change my layer to A now. I'm going to draw a line, the distance of the dimension at 64. And then I'll just draw some lines going up through the object. And what I'm going to do is select those three lines. By the way, it didn't matter where I drew this. I just drew it here for simple sake. But when I have this here, I'm going to select all three of those lines and use the move command. I'm going to move it from the midpoint of the line. I'm going to place it in the midpoint of the front end of the top view. And you can see that magenta line, and it's projecting what is to be our centers for our circles. I'm going to change this line and this line here to center. And now I've marked where the centers of the circles are going to go. I'm going to do a crossing window from left to right, highlighting that line, and I can now delete it. And then I should probably put my circles in. I have a circle of 15 diameter. So I'm going to go to my circle tool to make sure I pick circle diameter. And I'm going to go to the intersection and type in 15. Change that to object. And then since it's still selected, I'm going to use the copy command and go from the center of that piece to the intersection. Or perpendicular. Perpendicular will work as well, because it's in line with each other. To place that hole, you can see it's centered using the quadrants. I'm going to take out those center lines. I'm going to change my layer to centerline. And I'll actually put my center marks in now. So go to Annotate, Center Mark, clicking the circles. That marks my centers. Now the top view is done, I'm going to project some lines. I'll go home. Going to use object layer. And I'm going to start my line from the quadrant through the piece. Now this won't be an object line, so I'm going to change it back to hidden. There's going to be a hidden line here. Hit escape. And I'm going to use the copy command. Hit escape. Make sure to get the end point of the line and place it into quadrant and the quadrant in that circle and the quadrant in that circle. From here, I'm going to use trim. And cut away at those pieces. Now I need a center line here. So I'm going to change my layer to center line. I'm going to draw a line approximately where I want it, so I get the nice clean pop of the center mark. And then I'm going to draw lines going from the top right-hand side to the bottom left corner. And a repeat line. Do the same, the opposite here, just for, because it doesn't matter which way I do it. We do the left-hand side down to the bottom right-hand side. Both give me the same center point in line with each other. What I can do with that now is select this line that I had drawn off to the side and use the copy command. Grab by the midpoint and place it on the midpoint of that line and the midpoint of that line. Right click, enter. Then I can remove those diagonals. Now my center marks are in place. So now my top view and front view is done. Now it's time to do a side view. To prep for my side view, I'm going to copy, selecting the top view, use copy, select the base point and move it off to the side. I click enter. From here, I'm going to rotate this, select it, rotate, selecting a base point, And then from 0, I'm going to go down -90 degrees, or just point down, so that it rotates in the correct orientation. I'm going to select it and move it just a little bit to the left, so it's not too far away. For this one, I'm going to erase the center lines. I'm going to eventually erase this whole drawing, so I don't need it for now. And then I'm going to go here to layer 0 and project my line work going across and going across from here. Then I'll use the copy command and copy to any points of interest. There. Now I'll select this line and copy it to any points of interest in this view. And now using the intersections, I can then start trimming out what I know I need or do not need. I'll start with this L shape that's coming across here. Select these 2 lines, select these 2 lines, right click. I'll cut away this corner here and this corner here and the intersection between the 2. I know this line right here needs to be there because it's the edge. So I'll cut away the excess here and here. Also, now I don't need this end because this is my end where it stops. And this is the height here and here. That's my top. Right click, enter. Now I can select those 2 lines as cutting planes and trim this here and this here. I know this is a circle. I'm going to select these 2 lines and make them hidden. Now I know where they cut, so I'm going to trim through there using these 2 lines to cut my hidden lines. And then all I need now is the rib that diagonally goes from here to here. Notice I didn't take ortho off because object snap breaks ortho. Now I'm going to select all the lines except for the hidden line and change them to object. And I'll draw one diagonal line from the top to the bottom of the 2 hidden lines. And I'll select this, use the copy command from the midpoint to the midpoint of this. And then I'll delete this extra line. So now I have my multi-view complete. Let me erase this extra projection. And now I'm ready to start doing my layout. I'm going to assume that I'm going to need this a little bit closer. So I'm going to just move this down a little bit. Maybe moving this to the left a little bit. It'll give me more room to work. Now I haven't saved this drawing yet. Could be a big downfall if there was any kind of power outage or anything of that nature. So let's make sure we save our drawing. Save as. Make sure you save your work in an appropriate folder. Go to my documents. This is chapter 10. And then I'm going to save it as 10.5. Save. It's very good practice to make sure you save all your work in folders designated for each assignment. That way it's easier to find. Now let's move on to our layout. Inside the viewport, turn off the grids, easy to see video. I'm going to zoom out, look at the drawing, change it to 1:1 scale. And this looks like it's going to be a little bit too tight. Don't want to try and smush this in too much. So I'm going to go ahead and change this up to 11:17. Clicking in the viewport, turn the grid off. And then let me zoom into this object. Make sure it's 1:1, which it is. And this is like there's going to be plenty of room to work with. So from here, I can start annotating. I'm going to change my layer to Anno. And I'll start putting in my linear dimensions. I know I have to dimension where the hole is from here to here. Looks like I got that off a little bit. Oh, that's where I missed. And delete. Linear dimension, quadrant to the endpoint. There we go. I'm going to set a nearest point. And I know I need a dimension from here to the endpoint of that at 24. Now, you might be noticing I keep changing my scale as well, which is not a good idea. Just change it to 1:1. Paint it look nice, and then lock that scale. Our units have decimal points or zeros after the decimal. If we look at our drawing here, the precision is to the whole number. So we should change that. We'll type in dim, D-I-M, style, S, and then dim style comes up. Excuse me. We will modify primary units tab, change the precision to 0, and hit OK, and close. Let's go back to our layout, and automatically it has been updated. So we continue putting in our dimensions. You'll be noticing this little square box out here. That's the example. You won't have that. I'll go ahead and just move this out of the way a little bit so it doesn't show up in my viewport. So on the top view, we've already taken care of the 24 and the 64. We need a 12 here and a 12 here. Let's put those dimensions in. Here to here, marked as 12. What I should do, this blue dot right here, I want to line it up with this dimension here. Kind of keep that in line with each other. dimension from here to here. Putting that in at 12. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take these dimensions off of here. Sorry about that. I'm going to delete these dimensions. And I'm going to place the dimensions here. And here. I'm going to move this dimension down a little bit. And I'm going to put the last dimension right here. So I have the rib dimensioned, the thickness of this dimension here, and the thickness of this dimension here. That looks a lot better. Now we do have a 45 angle coming off of here. I'm going to put that in. Angular dimension from here to here. Marking that at 45. Then what I'm going to do is going to double click on that. I'm going to add 2x space. So it now says 2 times 45. So it represents both sides. Back to the model. A dimension here at 50. Put the dimension in going from here to here. Trying to keep it off the drawing. And since I moved the dimension that was here down here, makes it look nice and clean. And I believe all we have to worry about is our overalls. So on the top view, on the front view, we're probably going to do the 32 and 55. On the side view, we're going to do the 60. And on the top or front view, do the 112. Just take a look and see what looks the cleanest. I'm going to put the dimension going across here. And dimension here. And our last dimension right here. Put one more dimension from here to here. It's looking good. Let's check and see if we're missing any dimensions. We got the hole we still need to worry about. So the diameter dimension. Go to diameter. Place it on the circle. Then we need to add the 2 times to it. So double click on it twice. To X space. Click away from that. Hit escape. Now we're going to select that dimension. Right click properties. And we're going to want to change under lines and arrows the center mark from line to none, so we don't cover up the center mark we made. I don't know if you can hear the thunder in the background, but we're going to go ahead and save our drawing. All right. Now, to end this video, we're going to go ahead and finish up our last bit of this. Everything should be nice and centered. You can hit the double scroll button to center your drawing. You will also be in charge of making it say sheet 1 of 1 by editing the text, the project, the scale, drawn by, and the date. Once you're done, save again. From here, you're going to want to print this drawing. So we're going to go to the A and go to print. Continue with the single sheet. If you use the correct template, it'll say drawing to PDF, monochrome. Go to preview your drawing. Everything should look lovely. From there, we'll exit. And then you will hit OK. Once you hit OK, you'll be prompted to save your PDF. Make sure you save it where you can find it, and then you'll submit it per Mr. Regas' instructions. This has been your 10.5 tutorial, and I'll see you in the classroom. Bye-bye.